Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve. Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet.
Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Got a lot going on this Monday with episodes of Gunsmoke and Fort Laramie heading out west. And I Was a Communist for the FBI, Nick Carter, Master Detective, and Claudia are all straight ahead, and that's going to be coming up next on this Monday. This is the 12th day of August, 225th day of the year, 141 days remaining until the end of the year, the peak of the Perseid meteor shower, the glorious 12th in the UK, as it marks the traditional start of the grouse shooting season. In 1883, Chicago founded. In 1851, on this date, Isaac Singer granted a patent for his sewing machine. That's why Isaac Singer is an absolute so-and-so. Tom, tip your waitress, we'll be here all week. Thomas Edison invented the phonograph on this date in 1877.
Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go.
A reenactment of Edison's first recording, which took place on this date in 1877. The armistice ended the Spanish-American War on this date in 1898. On that same date, the Hawaiian flag, lowered from Iolani Palace in an elaborate annexation ceremony, replaced with the American flag to signify the transfer of sovereignty from the Republic of Hawaii to the United States. In 1908, the very first Model T Ford was built. And in 1941, Britain and the U.S. made a joint declaration of their common national aims and post-war policy on this date in 1941.
I have come to tell you about an important meeting between the President of the United States and the Prime Minister, which has taken place, and of a declaration of principle which has been agreed between them.
Deputy Prime Minister Major Attlee, that joint declaration would later become known as the Atlantic Charter. In 1943, the alleged date of the first Philadelphia experiment test on the Navy ship USS Eldridge. The first communications satellite, Echo 1, launched on this date in 1960, and in 1977, the first free flight test of the Space Shuttle Enterprise took place.
4 feet. Give us some drop. 4 feet. 3 feet. 2 feet. You're coming off about 2 feet. You're on. Okay, your nose wheel's about 10 feet.
And they're on the ground. A roar of applause from the spectators on the lake bed. The shuttle Enterprise makes its first landing all by itself successfully.
Now, the Space Shuttle Enterprise never went to space. It wasn't a space flight. It was a test vehicle. It was a test of the landing capabilities of the Space Shuttle program and the Space Shuttle vehicles. It was on this date in 1981. The IBM personal computer was released.
The IBM personal computer, now at selected stores across the country.
Had to update all these numbers. The 16 kilobit base model with no data storage drives included was $1,565, $5,400 today. Now, if you loaded up a 64 kilobit box with all the standard features but still no storage, that went up to $2,880 or $9,900 today. Put in color graphics and 256 kilobytes of memory, not megabytes, kilobytes, $6,000. Over $20,000 today. Your available software at the time, the VisiCalc spreadsheet, EasyWriter 1.0, a very simple word processor, and Microsoft's first game, Adventure. In fact, if you look up Microsoft Adventure online, you can probably pay it play it for free over the internet because it was a text-based game. 1982, Mexico announced it's unable to pay its enormous external debt, marking the beginning of a debt crisis that spread to all of Latin America and the Third World. President Reagan spoke to the American people on this date in 1987 about the Iran-Contra affair.
I was aware the resistance was receiving funds directly from third countries and from private efforts, and I endorsed those endeavors wholeheartedly. But let me put this in capital letters. I did not know about the diversion of funds. Indeed, I didn't know there were excess funds.
The president said he was stubborn in his policy, a pursuit of a policy that went astray, and said the buck stopped with him. It was on this date in 1992, Canada, Mexico, and the U.S. announced completion of negotiations for the North American Free Trade Agreement.
This historic trade agreement will further open markets in Mexico, Canada, and the United States, and it'll create jobs and generate economic growth in all three countries.
President George Herbert Walker Bush, who left office before the agreement could be passed, it was ratified during the first year of the Clinton administration. President Trump pushed for a replacement deal and in 2020 procured the USMCA, the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Agreement. Passing away on this date in history, actor Henry Fonda, singer-songwriter Ku Sakamoto, whose single hit, a love song that was sung in Japanese, became known as Sukiyaki. Actress Loretta Young, the man who created Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune, also was a talk show host, also was quite the singer. I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts. Merv Griffith passing away on this date. Guitarist-songwriter Les Paul and Lauren Bacall, all passing away on this date in history. Now, birthdays today, we got to start off with a country legend, Porter Wagoner.
1968. Carroll County's pointed out as kinda square. The biggest thing that happens is the county fair. I guess that's why it seemed like such a big event. What we all call the Carroll County accident.
The Carroll County accident. Porter Wagoner, best known for his flashy suits. He did it long before anybody else did. He had the sequin suits and everything. Was on television for more than 20 years. And remnants of Porter Wagoner remain around to this day. You know the young lady he introduced to the music world on a national basis, Dolly Parton. Porter Wagoner, born on this date in history. Also, financier Jim Brady, director Cecil B. DeMille, Aunt Clara from Bewitched, Marion Lorne, actor Alfred Lunt, comedian, actor Joe Besser, probably best known for his brief stint with the Stooges. Also, actress Jane Wyatt, Mexican actor Cantinflas, singer Buck Owens, Hee Haw fame, Pickin' and Grinnin', and psychic Miss Cleo, all born on this date in history.
Hi, this is Jeff Foxworthy. It is now time for the birthday announcements. The following people are now officially older than dirt.
Actor George Hamilton, 85 years old today. He was a great pro wrestler in the UWF in the Mid-South Territories. Then he went to the WWE and they made him into the Red Rooster. He's retired, still does some training and producing. Terry Taylor, 70 years old today. Rapper Sir Mix-a-Lot is 61. Comedian Michael Ian Black is 53. From Nothing to Lose, an urban legend, Rebecca Gayheart is 53. You saw him in Ocean's 11, the remake, in Ocean's 12 and 13, but he got an Academy Award for Manchester by the Sea. Casey Affleck is 48 today.
The furnace blew, and they couldn't go back in again. And that's all I remember.
From Manchester by the Sea, Casey Affleck, 48 years old today. From Psych, Maggie Lawson is 44. Also turning 44 from Lolita and Face Off, Dominique Swain is 44. And model Cara Delvigny is 32. Those just a few of the people who celebrate the 12th day of August as their birthday. And if this is your birthday...
Hi, we're the Four Freshmen, and we just want to say, Happy birthday to you!
And on this Monday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, we'll start off in Dodge City, Kansas, for an episode of Gunsmoke. Going back 68 years to August 12th, 1956, Snakebite. That's next.
Congress is poised to pass a bill to keep AM radio in cars, but time is running out. 82 million Americans risk losing the news, sports, talk, traffic, and vital emergency information they rely on. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress to pass this bill now.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to STOP.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
I'm glad this show's recorded. Because I could get away with just pretending that what I just spent the last half hour doing, I didn't do. But I did. I was starting with tomorrow's show and mixing Monday and Tuesday and the 12th and the 13th. And oh my gosh, it was so stupid. But we got it fixed now. So let's head to Dodge City. An episode of Gunsmoke, one of your favorites, 68 years ago, August 12th, 1956, Snakebite.
Gunsmoke. Brought to you by L&M, the modern cigarette that lets you get full, exciting flavor through the modern miracle of the pure white miracle tip. Live modern. Smoke L&M. Around Dodge City and in the territory on West, there's just one way to handle the killers and the spoilers, and that's with a U.S. Marshal and the smell of gun smoke. Gunsmoke, starring William Conrad. The transcribed story of the violence that moved west with young America. And the story of a man who moved with it.
I'm that man, Matt Dillon, United States Marshal. The first man they look for and the last they want to meet. It's a chancy job, and it makes a man watchful and a little lonely.
It finally cooled up after all that hot weather, didn't it, Mr. Dillon?
Uh-huh.
It sure turned out to be a pretty nice day.
Yeah. Try to make some man lazy.
Hey, look at that little old dog out on his feet there. He sure is playful, ain't he?
Oh, yeah. If he had any sense, he'd go lie down in the shade somewhere.
Well, he's just a pup.
Uh-huh.
Uh-oh. Now, he better leave them horses be. He's gonna get kicked.
Well, he's got to learn sometime.
Go on. Go on, Scat. Go on, get away from here, you mutt.
He's gonna make that fella mad.
Go on. Oh, I'll fix you.
Hey. Why, he shot him. Well, what a mean, miserable thing to do. That little old pup wasn't hurting nothing.
No, he sure wasn't.
Hey, that's the marshal. Well, what do you want?
Get on off those horses.
What?
Do it! Right now.
All right. Now, what's your trouble, Marshal?
I'll take your gun, mister.
No, you won't.
I'm not even gonna argue with you. And I'll make a move. Here, Chester, hold it.
Yes, sir.
right, I'll take yours, too.
Sure, Marshal. I ain't gonna try nothing.
Hold up now. What's this all about, anyway?
What's your name, mister?
Walt Gorman.
Mm-hmm. And what's yours?
Hicks. Judd Hicks.
All right. I don't allow shooting and dodge.
Well, ain't no reason to take our guns.
I ought to bend them across your heads. Come on, Chester.
Hey, wait a minute. When do we get them guns back?
Tomorrow noon when you leave town.
But we ain't figuring on leaving.
Oh, never mind him, Hicks. He can't run us out.
By golly, you are too, Mr. Dillon.
I will, Chester.
Look at that poor little dog. I wonder whose 'tis.
I don't know. Probably belongs to some kid around here.
I'll carry it around back to jail. Maybe the kid will want to bury it himself.
Yeah, why don't you do that?
That Gorman sure is a mean one.
Well, I can get mean too, Chester. And I got a feeling I may have to before I'm through with him.
Why don't you live modern? Live modern. Live modern. Change to L&M.
Only with L&M can you enjoy the full, exciting flavor of today's finest tobaccos through the modern miracle of the L&M Miracle Tip. Through the pure white Miracle Tip, L&M tastes richer, smokes cleaner, draws easier. No other cigarette, plain or filter, gives you all the flavor you want. The rich, exciting flavor you get only from L&M. So light up, free up, let your taste come alive. Live modern. Smoke L&M.
Make today your big red letter day and start to live the modern way. Live modern. Get L&M today.
Hey, Mr. Dillon, guess what?
No, what, Chester?
You know who that little raggedy dog belonged to? It wasn't no kid at all. It was an old fella called Pony Thompson.
Pony Thompson?
Yes, sir. He come in here a while ago. He heard we had him. He's out back now burying him.
I never heard of Pony Thompson.
Neither had I. He's a real nice old fellow, though. Oh, kindly funny looking. He looks at you from under them scraggly eyebrows like an old gray wolf, but that's him. You'll see.
Hello, Mr. Thompson.
No, I ain't no Mr. Pony's good enough. This is Marshal Dillon. How do, Marshal?
I'm sorry about your dog.
Well, I shouldn't have brung him. Town's bad enough for humans.
Where you from, Pony? I haven't seen you in Dodge before.
I don't seek out no town but once a year. I move around on the prairie, Marshal. Sometimes I go into the mountains. I just can't stand four walls and a roof. It's like being in jail.
What are you doing here now?
Once a year, I get drunk. What? That's why I come to town to do it. I figure if I gotta get drunk, I gotta be cooped up in some saloon. But, just walking down your street there, I feel kind of hog-tied. Oh, my goodness. Hey, Marshal.
Yep, honey.
Who shot my dog?
A couple of men who just rode into town.
I'll have to know their names.
Why, you want them to pay you for the dog, Pony?
No, 'tain't money I'm after.
I didn't think so.
I got a heavy old rifle down at the stable with my gatherings. I figured to go kind of beat 'em half to death with it.
Now, that wouldn't help you, Pony.
You ain't gonna tell me their names?
No, Pony, I'm not.
Well...
Where you going?
I can't get drunk unless I start drinking, can I?
No.
But I'll find out who shot my dog. Don't you worry.
Your friend Pony Thompson's doing pretty well at the bar over there, Matt. That's his second bottle he's working on.
He sure keeps to himself, doesn't he?
A man who drinks alone is usually peaceful anyway.
Yeah.
Now, hurry it up, bartender. We ain't got all night.
Now, who's that pair? Just came in.
Oh.
Well, you know him, Matt?
Yeah. One of them's the man who shot Pony's dog I was telling you about.
Well, he looks like the kind. Oh, no, what Sam wants.
Hey, Kitty.
I better go see you. I'll be right back.
Yeah, sure, Kitty.
Hey, look at this one, Hicks. She's pretty.
Yeah.
Hey, girlie, buy you a drink.
No, thanks. Oh, what do you want, Sam?
Never mind about him. Come on, have a drink.
I said no.
I said yes. Come on, girlie, loosen up now.
Tell me something, mister. Do you have to be awful brave to shoot puppy dogs?
What?
Must take a real man to do that, huh?
I just ought to slap your face in for you.
I wouldn't try that, Gorman.
It's a marshal.
Now what?
You get out of here. And you take Hicks with you.
You sure like having your own way in this here town, don't you?
I sure do. Now you get moving.
Come on, Gorman. We don't want no trouble.
Shut up. All right. I sure am getting a belly full of that.
What a hero.
Yeah. But you know, Kitty, I wish you hadn't mentioned the dog.
Oh, I'm sorry, Matt. I forgot.
Hey, evening, Marshal.
Hello, Pony.
So, that feller's name was Gorman, huh? Got a mean face, too, ain't he?
Now, look here, Pony.
Don't you worry. I ain't gonna follow him, Marshal. No sirree, Bob. I got me this here bottle to finish. Yeah, I'm gonna get drunk tonight, remember?
Well, I guess it doesn't matter after all, Matt.
Hell, I hope not, Kitty. But I'm not so sure.
Oh, my. Side meat, fried potatoes, Harmony grits and sorghum, and a cup of lye. Matt, that was a mighty poor breakfast, if I do say so.
Well, then I'm glad I didn't treat you to it, Doc.
Oh, look who's in it. If you ever treated me to breakfast, I'd be so dumbfounded I couldn't complain.
Mr. Dillon! Mr. Dillon!
What?
Where's Chester? At the stable door there.
You too, Doc. Hurry up!
Me? What's he got, a sick horse in there?
Yeah, he's got something, Doc. He looks pretty worried.
Oh, Chester's always worried. If it isn't money, it's women.
Moss Grimmick went to the office looking for you.
Now, what's the trouble, Chester?
There's been a killing.
What?
That fellow Walt Gorman, he got his throat cut in here. Moss found him laying in one of the stalls. Pony Thompson done it.
How do you know?
Well, he was right in there with him and still is. We tied him up with a rope. Of course, he was passed out drunk when Moss found him, but he come too fast enough when we sluiced some water on him.
How could he kill a man when he was passed out?
I don't know, Doc, but he was all spattered with blood, and the knife was laying there right there by his hand. There he is.
Oh, Marshal, make him turn me loose.
That's Gorman under the saddle blanket back there.
All right, I'll take a look, but I don't know how much good.
Oh, please get me loose, Marshal. Please, I just can't stand this.
All right, on time, Chester.
All right, sir.
I didn't kill nobody.
The knife's in that board right next to you, Mr. Dillon.
Oh. Pony, is this your knife?
Yeah, sure, it's mine, but I didn't use it on nobody.
It was laying right by his hand.
Well, then somebody put it there.
Gorman's dead, all right, Matt. 4 or 5 hours. He took a knife in his back and then had his throat cut.
There. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't do a thing like that, Marshal.
I wouldn't have thought so, Pony.
It's true. Oh, sure, I found him later after you left the Long Branch, but... Well, I only swore at him a little for shooting my poor pup.
I'm going to have to lock you up, Pony.
Oh, no, please, Marshal, don't do that. Please, don't.
I got no choice.
I tell you, I'll just go crazy. You put me in jail. I told you how I am.
Chester, take him down. Huh?
Come on, Pony, let's get going.
Oh, please don't. Not jail,
You
please.
should have thought about that before you killed Gorman. Now, come on.
I'd rather get shot. I'd rather die.
You ain't gonna die. Now walk along.
Hello, Marshal. I've been waiting for you.
Hello, Hicks.
I'd seen Chester a while ago taking Pony Thompson into the jail here.
They tell you what happened?
He sure did. I didn't want to see Gorman. Not after what that old man did to him.
Come on into the office, Hicks.
Mr. Dillon.
Chester?
Oh, right.
What's the matter? What's the matter? You sick or something?
He hit me.
What? Oh. Where's Pony Thompson?
That's what I'm telling you. He hit me with that stool in there.
You mean he got away?
I turned my back to go out of that cell, and that's all I remember.
And he's been gone about 20 minutes.
Well, let's find him. Standing around here is doing no good.
We'll find him, Hicks.
Oh, but I know where he went.
You do? Where?
Well, in the stable there, he was mumbling about a hideout he knows down by the Arkansas somewheres.
You feel up to riding, Chester?
You bet I do.
And I'm coming, too. I'll shoot that old devil on sight.
It's a good thing I took your gun, Hicks. But you're coming with us, all right, just to make sure you don't find another one.
Why don't you live modern? Live modern. Live modern. Change to L&M.
Yes, have an L&M. Enjoy a really modern cigarette. A cigarette that gives you all the full, exciting flavor of today's finest tobaccos. No other cigarette, plain or filter, gives you the flavor you get through the modern miracle of the L&M Miracle Tip. Through the pure white Miracle Tip, L&M tastes richer, smokes cleaner, draws easier. So light up, free up, let your taste come alive. Live modern, smoke L&M.
Make today your big red letter day and start to live the modern way. Live modern. Get L&M today.
Breaking day, Mr. Dillon. We can get moving again directly.
He could be 30 miles from here by now.
Well, you can't track a man in the dark, Hicks. We done the best we could. Blackest night I ever seen.
Marshal, I want you to give me a gun today.
You're awful anxious to shoot him down, aren't you, Hicks?
It's to keep him from shooting me. He's probably armed by now.
Oh, sure he is. There's lots of guns laying along the banks of the Arkansas. I'm cold. I'm going to walk around a little and stretch my legs.
Don't you get lost, Sonny.
Oh, why don't you try keeping quiet? Your voice itches my ears.
Hicks, tell me something. How long were you and Gorman partners?
About a year. Why?
Yeah, I just wondered.
You gonna let me have a gun today?
I wouldn't trust you with a buggy.
Now, you got no cause to say that.
I want Pony Thompson alive. He'd be no good to me dead.
What do you mean?
Well, I didn't get a chance to talk to him, for one thing.
Hey, Mr. Dillon!
Yeah, what?
There's a little old cave right up here.
Go crawl in it. Maybe it'll fall on you. He sure bothers me.
You kind of bother him.
I ain't done nothing to him.
Mr. Dillon, come here, quick!
What? Yeah, what is it, Chester?
There's a man in this cave.
Ah.
It's old Pony Thompson.
Oh, drag him out.
I did. He's dead, Mr. Dillon.
What? Dead?
Yes, sir.
Make a torch out of some of those dry weeds, Chester. I can't see much here.
Yes, sir.
What is it, Marshal? Somebody kill him?
I don't know, Hicks. Just stay out of the way.
Doggone it, you treat me like I was dirt. I've had enough of that.
Come on, Chester, hurry up.
Yes, sir, I got it. Here, let me get lit.
I don't feel blood anywhere.
Yeah. Ain't gonna burn long, though.
Hold it near his head.
I don't see nothing.
No, wait a minute. Hold it closer.
Huh?
Down here.
There ain't a mark on him.
Yes, there is. See those two little punctures on his neck there?
Yes, sir.
All right, Chester. Well, I guess Pony meant what he said about not liking jail.
What do you mean?
We've been sitting right down there in front of his cave for about 8 hours now. He could have hollered for help, but he didn't.
Help for what?
There was a rattlesnake in that cave.
That's what them marks on his neck was. He got bit.
Rather than face jail, he stayed in there and died.
I don't get to feeling so sorry for him. He stuck Gorman in the back and cut his throat, didn't he?
Yeah, Hicks. That's exactly what happened to Gorman.
What are you looking at me like that for?
Chester.
Yes, sir?
Did you tell Hicks that Gorman got knifed in the back?
No, sir. All I said was he got his throat cut.
And poor old Pony Thompson died for nothing. I don't know why you killed your partner, and I don't much care, but we'll find out. After we get Pony buried proper.
Now, look here, Marshal.
And you'll dig the grave, Hicks. And you'll dig it deep. The old man deserves that much from you.
In a moment, our star, William Conrad. In a recent study, a noted traffic expert estimates that inadequate highways and resultant traffic jams cost the American economy billions of dollars every year, and suggests that the cost of modernizing our roads would quickly be regained in time saved. Discussing motor accidents, this same expert suggests that legislation may be needed to curb the speed of our powerful automobiles before they ever leave the factories. This is a controversial question on which the experts disagree. But all traffic experts agree on one thing. Common sense cannot be legislated into the automobile driver. He has to learn it by himself. Anger, bravado, and the spirit of competition often are expressed on the highway by excessive speeding, disregard of traffic signs and signals, and other risky maneuvers. Psychologists sum it up by saying that careless drivers are emotionally immature. Put more bluntly, it means that careless driving is kid stuff. This has been a CBS Radio public service announcement.
You know, when a High Plains woman was looking for a husband, cowhands used to laugh and say, she's throwing a wide loop. Well, next week a woman catches her man right enough, but with a .50 caliber rifle. And that was the West.
Gunsmoke, produced and directed by Norman Macdonald, stars William Conrad as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal. Our story was specially written for Gunsmoke by John Meston, with music composed and conducted by Rex Corey. Sound patterns by Tom Hanley and Bill James. Featured in the cast were Joseph Kearns, Vic Perrin, and Lawrence Dobkin. Parley Bear as Chester, Howard McNear as Doc, and Georgia Ellis as Kitty. Join us again next week for another specially transcribed story on Gunsmoke.
Everybody jumping to assumptions and circumstantial evidence. Turned out not to be the case. 68 years ago, August 12, 1956, Gunsmoke here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Give me a moment. We will have the news of this date, 68 years ago today.
Ladies and gentlemen, the chief hope of our enemies is to divide the United States along racial and religious lines and thereby conquer us. Let's not spread prejudice. A divided America is a weak America. Through our behavior, we encourage the respect of our children and make them better neighbors to all races and religions. Remind them that being good neighbors has helped make our country great and kept her free. Thank you.
A message we all need to follow. Let's look at the news stories. We just heard Gunsmoke. We'll hear Fort Laramie in a moment. Right now we're going to hear the news stories from 68 years ago today. Scrappy Harry Truman, the Democrat Party's champ, went all out for Averell Harriman today as the best man for president in these times of mounting crisis in the world. In a stratagem that could throw next week's Democrat convention into uproarious, harmony-shattering battle, the former president gave his unqualified blessing to the New York governor. The reaction of Adlai Stevenson, still the man to beat for the nomination, says, "I expect to be the Democrat candidate." President Eisenhower expected to make a strong bid for bipartisan support of his policy of seeking by measures short of war international control of the Suez Canal. Eisenhower, Secretary of State John Foster Dulles, and Admiral Arthur W. Radford, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, will meet with congressional leaders of both parties in the White House at noon today. Hurricane Betsy, smashing through the Leeward Islands with 100-mile-an-hour winds, then appeared to turn to a more northerly course. Hurricane warnings posted immediately from Antigua to Puerto Rico. Its new position 270 miles east-southeast of San Juan, Puerto Rico, 1,350 miles southeast of Miami. A five-nation Arab labor group threatened today to blow up Western oil installations and Middle East bases through the Middle East if Egypt is attacked in the Suez Canal dispute. The threat came from the International Federations of Arab Labor Unions as President Gamal Abdel Nasser worked out with his cabinet his climactic answer to the West's invitation to a world conference on the canal. A new fire flashed up in the Bitter Heart coal mine today in Belgium, all but wiping out what slender hope remained for some 254 men entombed in the mine for more than 3 days. 2 college sophomores arrested for trying to practice witchcraft in the Bronx Park Zoo. The police complaint said they were engaged in a ceremony of demonology and were calling forth a demon. In court later, Magistrate Hyman Korn observed the 2 youth conjured up their demon all right. But cops, the judge sighed, anything can happen in the Bronx. Civil Defense began distribution of a new national plan for America in the event of an enemy attack. The plan, which includes recommendations for states and cities, replaced the 1950 plan, which has been outdated by such developments as the hydrogen bomb. Headquarters of Civil Defense in Battle Creek, Michigan, said the new plan is designed to show who at various levels of civil defense, federal, state, and local, is supposed to do what, when they do it, and by what authority. Mississippi Governor J.P. Coleman denied today that a Negro was barred from voting in his state because he failed to answer the question, how many bubbles are there in a bar of soap? Coleman denounced as unfounded and baseless this charge and others made before the Democrat Platform Committee by Roy Wilkins, the executive director of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Wilkins said Mississippi had discriminated against Negroes in their voting rights and that the state had acted unfairly in the Emmett Till case. A desert river dry for scores of years flowing again in the French Equatorial Africa community of Fort Laramie. A superabundance of rainfall turned the banks of the Bahr el Ghazal River green, and cattle are feeding there once again. Radioactive luminous paint on watches, instruments, television sets, X-ray tubes, and nuclear reactors are among the sources of man-made radiation, which may contribute to an increase of genetic hazards. This is a conclusion today of an international group of radiation scientists winding up 5 days of meetings in Copenhagen under World Health Organization auspices. One of the world's famous novelists, Mississippi's William Faulkner, has contributed $1 toward a tar and feather fund for a whiskey informer. In a letter to the Junior Chamber of Commerce of Batesville, Mississippi, Faulkner of Oxford called Mrs. K.O. McTamrock's recent and expensive cafe conversation a frightening symptom. He sharply criticized the officers and the informers who nailed the Grenada, Mississippi housewife with a $125 fine for illegal possession of liquor. Mrs. McClamrock, driving home from Memphis, stopped by in Batesville, arrested by a deputy sheriff who was waiting with a search warrant. He confiscated her 6 bottles of whiskey. Dry counties. Those some of the day's news stories from the newspapers of Sunday, August 12, 1956. We'll continue with our look at that date with the episode of Fort Laramie starring Raymond Burr.
Ladies and gentlemen, make tomorrow your D-Day. Get an extra bond for defense. Step into any bank or post office and buy yourself a profitable share in America's future. As an investment, bonds are better than ever. They can help you save safely, conveniently, and profitably. So whether you already buy on the payroll savings plan where you work or the bond-a-month plan where you bank, get an extra bond for defense tomorrow.
And we roll on this edition of Classic Radio Theater with an episode of Fort Laramie starring Raymond Burr 68 years ago Sunday, August 12th, 1956, The Assembly Line.
At the gallop! Ho!
Fort Laramie. Fort Laramie, starring Raymond Burr as Captain Lee Quince. Specially transcribed tales of the dark and tragic ground of the wild frontier, the saga of fighting men who rode the rim of empire, and the dramatic story of Lee Quince, Captain of Cavalry.
Oh, it's from Jim Lack at the Oglala Agency, Captain.
Asking us to stay away? That's what he usually wants.
Well, this time he's asking for help. Claims he's about to have an uprising on his hands.
Well, the way he parcels out the food, the Sioux haven't got the strength for an uprising.
Oh, here. You read it.
All the troops you can spare, huh? Black must be scared stiff.
But he doesn't mention what the trouble's about, or if it started, just that he fears that it will. Oh, you better take a patrol down, Captain.
That all the troops you can spare, Major?
It is until I know better what the problem is.
Yes, sir.
How long since you saw Lack?
Well, last month, when we went up to butcher the beef on the agency, he was hovering around like a mother hen, making sure no Indian got a fair share.
You saw they did, of course.
Yeah, that's when he ordered us off the agency. I got no way of knowing if the Indians got to keep their meat or not, but they had it when we left.
He's a hard man to understand. When he first came out here from the east, remember, we both thought he had a good feeling about his job. He talked a lot about Indians being human, treating them fair.
You saying he's changed, Major?
Well, hasn't he?
I don't think so. He still talks the same way, pretty much. It goes back to what he calls being human.
He hasn't had much regard for us as human beings.
Or his wife. Never seen her?
I met her when they moved out here. Tall woman, thin, never says much.
Never says anything anymore when he's around. I don't think he feeds her any better than he does the Sioux.
Well, they're sure high on him in Washington.
Yeah, sure, the budget boys. Old Lack's keeping them in the black just fine. Of course, they might feel different about him if there is a Sioux uprising.
How soon can you leave, Captain?
An hour.
Good. As soon as you get an estimate of the situation, telegraph me. I don't know what you'll find.
Well, there's something wrong, Major. Up to now, he looked on the Army as just so much interference. Now he's asking for us. I'd say Lack's in real trouble.
Looks like we got a delegation ahead, sir.
At least they're waiting for us, not charging out to meet us. Ah, it looks like Red Deer.
Yes, sir.
He's right at the reservation line. Might be that's as far as he wants us to go.
Red Deer's not a hostile.
Never has been. Patrol! Halt! Greetings, Red Deer.
Greetings, Captain. You do not come our way in long time.
I was here last month. You were off hunting.
Hunting no good. Red Deer no longer find good hunting grounds. Too much white man.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Many moons ago, you tell Red Deer white man leave reservation to Indian.
That's right.
Indian to have fine hunting ground, good lodges, plenty food. Now lodges no shelter for squaw and papoose. Old, many holes in walls. Bring wind and snow against us. No good food. Now no hunting ground.
You powwow with Mr. Lack?
No good. Red Deer go make talk. Lack he not listen. If Red Deer talk, Lack he take food away. Make less. Not good.
That why you rode out from the agency to meet me, Red Deer?
Lack no like army to come. When army come, bad for Indians.
We've never bothered you, Red Deer.
Not you. But when army come, Lack get mad. When Lack mad, bad for Indians.
Is there new trouble on the agency?
No trouble.
You sure?
No trouble.
Good. Now, suppose you ride back to the agency with us.
You give hunting grounds back?
All right, what's happened to them?
White men take all over, dig in rocks, make big holes. Game all run, no good hunting.
Miners?
Dig in rock, make big hole.
Sometimes.
Not good for hunting ground.
No, not good. All right, Red Deer, ride back with us. We'll make powwow with Mr. Lack.
No trouble?
No trouble.
Then come.
You heard me. Now go on, get on back to your lodges. Move now, or I'll cut your ration.
I told Red Deer we'd powwow, Mr. Lack.
Now, you'd no right to do that.
I had the right, and we will powwow.
Well, I want to talk to you first, alone.
All right. Red Deer, go to your lodge and see your braves go to theirs.
No powwow.
Later. You have my word.
No cut ration.
No.
Then Red Deer go.
If you had to deal with them every day, you'd sing a different tune, Captain Quince.
I'd have to live with them every day to know that.
You can powwow yourself half crazy and get nowhere.
I came at your request.
I asked for troops, not a patrol.
If you need troops, you'll get them.
Well, come on inside. You never know who's listening around here.
Mm-hmm.
Better have your men stand guard.
Over what?
Over us.
They'll see we're free to talk, Mr. Lack.
All right. Go on in.
Oh, morning, Ms. Lack.
Captain Quince?
Go on, get on back to your kitchen, Claire. Captain and I have a lot to settle in a hurry.
Yes, James. Oh, you'll tell him about...
I'll tell him everything, Claire. Now, go on. Now, you can sit if you want to.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, first things first. You'll telegraph Major Daggett immediately for reinforcements. I'd say we'll need at least 150 men, full supply of arms and ammunition, and, of course, whatever food the Army will require. I can't be expected to feed the Army on agency food. I think the search should begin right away. And after then, we'll...
You want to slow down a little?
You wait till you've been through it as long as I have, Captain.
Before we move the Army from the entire department of the Platte over here, maybe you ought to tell us about this uprising.
Mark my words, there'll be one. We don't nip it in the bud. You want a drink?
No, thanks.
Well, they've been growing sullen, without cause, mind you, for the last few days. I've cut their rations each time there's been a disturbance.
Disturbance? What kind?
Oh, delegations, committees, I guess they are. Why? Every time I look up, 2 or 3 chiefs are waiting on my front stoop with some new grievance.
Well, these grievances. They're what you're calling a disturbance?
That's what they are.
I was thinking more like a demonstration of some kind.
I think that's next on their list.
Why?
Because of the guns. Now that they're armed, I say we can expect shooting trouble any day.
You know they got guns?
Of course I know it. That's why I called for the Army. I want you to disarm them first, and after
Where'd
that...
they get the guns?
Oh, Captain, you're the most obstinate man I've ever encountered. I'm head of this agency. It should be enough for you that I say they have guns.
But it isn't enough.
Yes, I can see that.
When this agency was established, it was agreed that the Braves could keep their guns if they were hunters.
That was before my time, Captain. I'd never have agreed to that.
No, but the Army agreed to it, Mr. Lack.
All right. Then you may as well know I changed all that. Shortly after I came here, I was quick to see that no good could come of savages under my control having guns.
You took them away.
For disciplinary reasons, yes.
What happened to their hunting?
Well, what hunting they're willing to do, there's lazy as sin, you know. I figured they could do with bows and arrows.
Now, look, the Sioux are traditional hunters. They're not lazy about it if they got hunting grounds.
They've got hunting grounds by treaty.
Red Deer says the miners scare the game off.
Well, I can't keep miners out of here. That's not my job.
It's the Army's job. We'll run them out.
I'm not interested in miners. I'm interested in the Indians having guns.
So am I.
Now, ever since I took them away, I've kept their guns in one of the supply stores under lock and key. You can be sure of that. Well, yesterday, the lock was broken and the guns were gone.
They took their own guns back.
That was yesterday morning. I found them gone. That's when I telegraphed the major. Well, last evening, I found some of my own rifles gone. Now, I say they're spoiling for something, Captain.
Might be you're right, Mr. Lack.
I know I'm right. And I don't mind telling you, it frightens me.
It should.
I've always been able to handle agency affairs by myself. I've done a good job of it, too, if I do say so. But when savages start arming against me, I don't mind admitting I need help.
I'll start a search going for the guns right away, Mr. Lack.
Well, good.
But you better get some ideas about helping yourself, too.
Well, in what way?
In the way you look on humanity, Mr. Lack. Agency Indians got the right to enough food, proper living quarters, and hunting grounds.
I abide by the letter, Captain.
We'll start our search. See what we come up with.
Naturally, I'll want to help you any way I can.
That'd be by staying right here, Mr. Lack. Let us do the searching. Our way.
Mr. Lack said that store building there next to the laundry was where the guns was kept, Captain.
Did you speak to Red Deer, Sergeant?
Well, he said he'd meet us here.
Good.
Captain, I don't know quite how to say this, but I don't just warm to searching engines for guns that are rightly theirs.
Well, not all of them are rightly theirs. Some of them belong to Mr. Lack. This is the building?
Yes, sir.
What you doing
Here,
Red?
white captain, he will say, no bother, white squaw.
Something wrong, Mrs. Lack?
Red Deer just startled me, Captain Quince. I didn't hear him come in, and then suddenly there he was.
We asked him to meet us here, ma'am.
Yes, so he said.
Red Deer, no bother, white squaw.
No, of course he didn't. I'm just edgy, Captain. We all are, and... Well, I've just never got used to their moccasins. You can't hear 'em, you know. You just can't hear 'em at all.
If you've got business here, ma'am, we won't bother you.
Not at all. I was just looking for some soap. I thought we'd stored the surplus here. Guess we've used it all. Mr. Lack keeps a very close check on supplies, you know.
I'll bet he does.
Yes. Well, I'll go now.
Oh, ma'am.
Yes, Captain.
I was wondering, is this supply store kept open as a rule? Anybody can come and go?
Oh, deed not, no. No, Mr. Lack keeps it bolted at all times. He and I have the only keys.
Then you unlocked it just now, before we came.
Yes. That's how Red Deer got in without my hearing him.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
I'll see it's locked immediately. You're finished, Captain.
Yes, ma'am. This cabinet, Red Deer. This where Lack kept your guns?
Not no.
Lock's been spliced clean, Sergeant.
Real clean, Captain. A hatchet, maybe.
Pretty good-sized cabinet. How many guns did it hold, Red Deer?
Not know. Red Deer not know about guns.
They were your own guns once. Maybe you figured you had the right to them.
Many rights once belonged to Red Deer and people. No more.
You hate Lack, don't you, Red Deer?
Red Deer come. Make power with Captain. Captain say talk about hunting grounds. Not guns. Not hate.
But you do hate him.
Not like. Lack give Indian bad lodge. Not much good. Now no good hunting. Hate. Yes. Hate.
Enough to want to kill him?
Maybe kill. Red Deer not need gun to kill Lack.
No, you wouldn't, would you? Well, if you didn't take the guns yourself, Red Deer, you know who took them?
Many questions from Captain. No power.
We don't want to search your lodges, but we will if we have to. You understand? We'll go through every stick of building on this agency to find those guns. Unless your people give them up of their own will.
Red Deer not know about guns.
Red Deer, listen to me. We're going to try to do our best for you about the food and your lodges. And we'll drive the miners off your hunting grounds. But you've got to help us, too. Now, you go to your people. Tell them to give up these guns, or we'll come looking for them.
How much time?
Till tomorrow morning.
White soldiers camp on agency tonight.
Yes, we'll have to.
Red Deer go to people. Make talk. If find guns, bring to Captain.
Stack them in front of your lodges.
If do this, Captain not take papoose from Indian.
Now, where'd you get an idea like that?
Red Deer go to people.
Now, who's going to take their kids from them?
Nobody. but I'll sure find out who threatened it.
That kind of question doesn't deserve an answer, Captain.
Well, I'm still asking it.
Take their papooses away? Why? What in tarnation would I do with their mangy kids?
The point is, they got the idea you mean to take them.
Well, not from me, they didn't.
I'd steal guns, too, if I got that kind of threat.
But what kind of man do you think I am?
I've had a look around today, Lack. I've seen what they live in, seen what they eat. I know what kind of man you are.
I do my job. I keep Indians in their place. I run an agency with a strong hand because that's the only thing they can understand. But I've never told them I intended to take their children. Now, you can believe that or not.
Got all the food stuff locked up tight now, have you?
All of it. You can go around exchanging honor pledges with them if you want to, Captain. Give them your word on this and that. But I keep their food for them. And that's something they understand.
You're wrong, Lack. No man understands starvation.
I'll say good night to you, Captain.
And sleep well, Mr. Lack.
Yeah.
Captain?
Mr. Syberts?
We kept our eye on the lodges until sundown, sir. No sign of the guns.
They have until morning.
I hope they give them up voluntarily.
So do I.
Well, if you don't need me anymore, I guess I'll turn in, sir.
Get a good night's sleep, Mr. Syberts. Tomorrow stands a chance of being quite a day around here.
I know. Night, sir.
Night, Mr. Syberts.
Over here, Captain.
Miss Lack?
I hope the pebble didn't startle you. I wanted to get your attention.
You got it, ma'am.
I think we can talk better in the supply store. If Mr. Lack knew I'd come to you, he'd... Please, Captain. We don't dare light the lamp.
Whatever you say, ma'am.
I'm so much to blame, Captain. I want you to know I know that now, but at first I thought it was only right. After so much wrong, Captain, I thought... And Mr. Lack's not easy to talk to. He's never easy.
Whatever you did, Mrs. Lack, I can believe you thought it was right.
That's kind. That's kind. I'm not good with talk. I think a lot, but I never say. I never dare say. Mr. Lack isn't one to listen. I guess I didn't make the Indians understand me very well.
What did you tell them?
About the school. Just the women, of course, the squaws. They're all I see, really, in the laundry mostly. Mr. Lack never comes there, and sometimes we talk.
About the school?
I thought if they couldn't see any hope for themselves here, that it would mean something to think their children would have a better chance. I told them maybe we could start a school.
And they took it you meant to take their kids from them, huh?
I guess I just didn't say it very well.
It was after that they took the guns?
Yes. It's a terrible thing I've done, Captain.
Some terrible things have been done here, ma'am. But what you tried to do was a fine thing.
Children, they're a mother's full hope. A woman will bear anything, knowing her young will have it better and easier. And I don't know what's possessed me, speaking so free.
Nothing wrong with speaking free.
I'm a childless woman, Captain. I've not the right. I'd best get back to my quarters now. I wanted you to know. Will it help? Your knowing?
I think it will, Mrs. Lack. I'm much obliged. don't see the guns, Red Deer.
No guns, Captain.
You've had time to talk to your people.
No gun.
I asked for your help, Red Deer. Is this your answer?
Can do nothing.
Mr. Syberts?
Yes, sir?
You will direct the search of all lodges, all buildings housing Indians.
Yes, sir.
I'm starting the search with your lodge, Red Deer. Would you lead me to it?
Squaw in lodge.
I won't bother her.
Corporal Mercer, take 3 men, start at the far end. Harrison, you and the others come with me. Captain?
You find something, Sergeant?
No, sir. The fact of the matter is, we lost something.
Oh, what's that?
Miller and Kincaid, Captain. They was too sheepish to speak out till now. During the night, their rifles was took.
Red Deer?
You look, Captain. You no find.
What's this?
Belong to squaw.
Soap.
For papoose. Learn from white squaw.
Mrs. Lack?
White squaw keep all things very clean. My squaw, she learn from her.
Your papoose could learn from her, too, if you'd let her start a school.
No take papoose from lodge.
You want him to grow up scared, hating, the way you do? Use your head, Red Deer. A school in this agency might make a lot of things better.
Not take papoose from lodge.
We'll have a lot of talking to do later. Big powwow. Red men, white men, settle many things.
You take soap?
Oh, no. Here. But your squaw took it, didn't she? From the supply store by the laundry.
Not no.
Yeah, maybe she took the guns, too.
You find no guns, Captain.
Well, we'll see about that. They're not lying around here anyway. Come on.
Oh. All people taken from lodges. Why?
We're gonna find those guns, Red Deer.
Red Deer, some sort of privileged character, is he, Captain?
He'll stand search in due time, Mr. Lack.
You'll conduct the search yourself, Captain?
Of course.
I'll walk right along with you.
All right, you walk along with me. But save your talking for the Indian Commission. Major Daggett will be sending one over as soon as he gets my report.
Captain, you'd have my job?
You bet I would, Mr. Lack. You'll walk with us, Red Deer.
Yes. This running bird.
Uh-huh.
This many rivers. This squaw of Lockwing.
Sergeant?
Yes, sir.
Sergeant, walk toward us along that line. Take a good look.
Yes, sir.
Well, what is it, Captain?
You didn't see, Mr. Lack?
I saw nothing.
Well, Captain, it took quite a little doing on their part.
Yeah, a lot of doing, Sergeant. Go on, Mr. Lack. Look again. Look close this time. The beads the squaws are wearing, they're shells, cartridges. The old men are leaning on canes, only they're gun barrels. The kids got arrowheads hanging from their belts, and right along with them, gun locks, hammers.
You mean they took the guns apart? They're wearing them?
Yep. And if you're smart, Lack, you'll ask to get relieved from your job before they put them back together.
Fort Laramie is produced and directed by Norman MacDonald and stars Raymond Burr as Lee Quince, Captain of Cavalry, with Vic Perrin as Sergeant Gorse. The script was specially written for Fort Laramie by Kathleen Height, with sound patterns by Bill James and Tom Henley, musical supervision by Amerigo Marino. Featured in the cast were Joseph Kearns, John Daner, and Vivi Janis. Jack Moyles is Major Daggett, and Harry Bartell is Lieutenant Seiberts.
Company, tension! Dismiss!
Next week, another transcribed story of the Northwest frontier and the troopers who fought under Lee Quince, Captain of Cavalry. The songs, the comedy, the exciting guest stars, and the problems that come up wherever the Kingfish happens to be may keep Amos and Andy spinning, but they'll keep you smiling each Monday through Friday evening as you listen to the Amos and Andy Music Hall. For good company and for a barrel of fun, too, make the Amos and Andy Music Hall a nightly stopping-off place. You'll find it on the air 5 nights a week on most of these same stations.
As funny a guy as Joe Kearns could be, he could be a real jerk, and he was one in this episode. Played it really well. Fort Laramie, starring Raymond Burr, 68 years ago, Sunday, August 12, 1956, as we turn the page from Sunday, August 12, 1956, and move to 71 years ago, August 12, 1953, for Dana Andrews, and I Was a Communist for the FBI.
Keep your guard up. That's the key slogan of the 1950 National Guard recruiting drive, and it's a slogan as timely as today's headlines. More than ever before, America stands prepared, and the National Guard must recruit approximately 220,000 men as soon as possible. By joining the National Guard, young men will have the advantage of choosing their own unit and preparing themselves for promotion by being in a job for which they are best qualified. Investigate the National Guard now. Help America to keep up its guard.
And let's move to 1953, August 12th, 71 years ago today. Dana Andrews in the series I Was a Communist for the FBI, and a very private funeral.
I was a communist for the FBI. Starring Dana Andrews in an exciting tale of danger and espionage. I was a communist for the FBI. From the actual records and authentic experiences of Matt Cvetic come many of the incidents in this unusual story. Here is our star, Dana Andrews, as Matt Cvetic, who for 9 fantastic years lived as a communist for the FBI. Fair is foul and foul is fair. Black is white, white is black, and things only seem to be what they seem to be. It sounds distraught and lunatic, yes. That's how it was, though, for 9 years, when my right hand hardly knew what my left hand was doing. Yet if either hand made a mistake, I might have died. 9 long, fantastic years of two-face and double talk behind the red mask, being a communist for the FBI. In a moment, listen to Dana Andrews as Matt Cvetic, Undercover Man. Here is Dana Andrews as Matt Cvetic, Undercover Man. This story from the confidential file is marked Very Private Funeral. Comrade Revchenko doesn't even look at me when I report into Communist headquarters. He lolls back in his swivel chair, gazing dreamily out of the window. I never liked that dreamy look in Revchenko. It's kind of spring fever he gets periodically. I just wonder, which way is he going to spring this time? I sit down gingerly. Revchenko swivels around and peers at me bitingly.
Comrade Cvetic.
Here?
What do you know about the so-called electronic brain?
Not too much.
Anything?
Just that it's a super-calculating machine that does marvels of mathematics.
You probably never heard then of Dwayne Fleming?
No, not a thing.
Dwayne Fleming knows everything about electronic calculators.
Whose side is he on?
Ours.
Uh-huh. Comrade Fleming.
Comrade Fleming has been engaged to aid in the installation of the newest electronic brain at the university here. He's been notified that he will presently have a personal assistant.
Me, I take it?
The United States military relies heavily on machines like this. Its amazing calculations can put advanced aircraft into production years ahead of schedule.
Just for example?
You will assist Comrade Fleming in seeing that the new machine renders the smallest possible service to the United States military.
Sabotage.
Nothing crude, you understand.
No broken tubes, short circuits, or missing transistors, or all that clumsy business.
Then you do know something about them.
Just what I read in the science magazines.
The university. Dwayne Fleming. He expects you.
Yes?
Is Mr. Fleming home, please?
He's resting.
I'm Mr. Cvetic, Matt Cvetic.
Oh. Come in.
I hope I'm not disturbing him.
You're disturbing him. But he said it was important.
Well, maybe I could walk around and come back later.
Carol, is that our man?
Yes, dear, it's Mr. Cvetic. I thought you were sleeping.
I was lying down, but I wasn't sleeping. You're a prompt man, Cvetic.
I can come back a little later.
No, let's go back to my study.
Anything I can bring you?
Later, honey. Come on, Cvetic. Get it over with.
I want to like them both. And from both of them, I get a guarded sort of resentment. His wife is pretty, sensitive-looking, but I sort of regret her being so visibly allergic to me. Her husband isn't bursting with affection for me either. We box around conversationally a while. I get the eerie feeling that half the time he's forgetting I'm even there. Then he comes back after one of his long, weird mental absences.
What do you know about electronics?
Very little.
How do you expect to be useful, then?
I count on your briefing and instructing me.
In other words, I'll have to do the real sabotage.
Well, I don't exactly...
In other words, your only function here is to see that I sabotage this job.
I wouldn't say that.
I'm saying it. You're my policeman.
Hey, not so loud.
What are you, MVD or what?
I'm here to help you.
You're here to watch me, and I don't think I need to be watched.
You don't think you have to be watched? Don't you know?
You listen to me, Cvetic. Now you listen to me.
Listening, Comrade Fleming? It is Comrade, I hope.
Dwayne, dear.
Come in, Carol.
I Brought you 2 male animals some small refreshments just in case.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Fleming.
Just put them down, Carol. I'll be back in a moment.
What happened, Mr. Cvetic?
Maybe I'd better stop back later.
Wait. Let's talk about Duane and you and the party. It won't take long.
Short and sweet, then.
Short and bitter, Mr. Cvetic. I want you to go back to your masters. Go back and tell them to leave us alone. To leave Duane Fleming to die in peace.
What?
You wonder why my husband is so irritable and moody? Irritability and his dreadful headaches are all part of what's killing him. Mr. Cvetic, please go back and tell the party that Comrade Duane Fleming has a tumor of the brain. He'll be dead in less than a year.
Oh, Mrs. Fleming.
He's sick and tired of all your communist intrigue and burrowing and blabbermouth shouting of fake ideals. Tell your chief Duane's done enough for the party.
Tell him he wants out?
Tell them anything that'll make them leave him alone. That'll let him live in peace and tranquility and love. These last precious months.
I'll come back later, Mrs. Fleming. I'm shocked. Too shocked, in fact, to be able to offer whatever awkward sympathies are possible. But somehow, somewhere, glimmering through the gloom and depression, is a glancing sparkle of will-o'-the-wisp light. I phone the FBI, meet my contact in a quiet restaurant where I have trouble keeping my voice down within safe limits. Now, don't get me wrong. I have the deepest sympathy for Fleming and his wife, but...
Keep it down, Matt. And no names.
Can't you see what this can mean?
I know what I'm thinking, but you go on.
I think Fleming is in a mood to spill all he knows about the party to the FBI.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Can you do it without revealing that I informed you?
Sure. I just tell Fleming that the War Department has asked for a routine FBI check on him.
He's a find if he talks.
Just one more thing, Matt. How do we know for sure that Fleming is a dying man?
His wife ought to know. He knows.
Just always on the alert for a trap, that's all.
Trap?
Well, and that's why you'd better report Fleming's condition to the party.
Why?
Maybe they know what's wrong with him, and they want to see if you tell them about it.
Wheels within wheels within wheels. I see.
You'd better bring Comrade Revchenko up to date now, Matt. I'll follow through on Fleming.
Ah. 1 year to live, or less. Is that it, Cvetic?
That's it, comrade.
So the contemptible turncoat turns cold on the party. Suppose the FBI gets to him in its present mood.
I don't think we have to worry about that. He wants to live out his last few months in quiet.
I regret your negative attitude in the face of such an opportunity, Comrade Cvetic.
Negative attitude? What do you expect me to do?
It is conceivable that Comrade Fleming, having only months to live, will risk even more than in the past for the Communist International. See him and tell him that I wish to speak to him.
I telephone Fleming's home from a pay booth. I get his wife on the telephone. There's something triumphant about the way she tells me Duane isn't home.
He got another call earlier today. A man called for him about an hour ago, and they haven't come back yet.
You wouldn't know who that man was, would you?
Nobody you'd know, I'm sure.
Well, tell Duane I called, and that I'll call again. It's important.
Very well. Goodbye.
I don't have to have it spelled out to me that nobody I know is probably the FBI. I try again in an hour. No answer. I keep trying all day. Nothing. I finally raise Mrs. Fleming afternoon of the next day and get a smallish jolt.
I'm sorry, Mr. Cvetic. Duane is out of town.
Out of town?
He came home yesterday after meeting that man. There was another call for him.
When will he be back?
I don't know if I'm free to say. Goodbye, Mr. Cvetic.
Fine thing. Now I've got to go back to Revchenko and tell him the bird has flown since yesterday, and I've just been sitting. I walk into Revchenko's office expecting the worst.
And do I get it? Only even worse than I thought. Sitting across from Revchenko is the man who's out of town, Duane Fleming. And he doesn't look any too happy either. Nobody does.
Sit down, Comrade Cvetic.
Fleming, I've been trying to reach you.
I'm complimented.
Cvetic, Comrade Fleming here received a visit yesterday from the FBI.
The FBI?
Just so. My informed sources gave me the news. Not, I regret to say, Comrade Fleming himself.
I tell you, I didn't go to them, Revchenko. They came to me.
Why?
I told you the War Department asked for a routine FBI check.
Assume I believe you, comrade. Go back to your work. Await my instructions. You may go. Now then, Comrade Cvetic, next things next.
His wife told me he was
Comrade Cvetic, the party does not always content itself with the reports of even the most trusted members.
What report are you referring to? Any, specifically?
The report that Comrade Fleming has a fatal brain tumor.
I'm sure Comrade Fleming himself confirmed my report.
He did?
Well, so much for that, then.
Cvetic, did you bother to discover that Comrade Fleming's doctor is Dr. Duane Fleming the Elder?
His father? No, I didn't.
You didn't.
What's the difference?
What's the difference?
Medicine is medicine. A fatal tumor is as fatal to a blood relative as it is to a stranger.
Oh, brilliant, comrade. Applause. Bravo.
All right, what's your story, comrade?
Fleming has not been out of town.
I can see that.
By my direction, he's been hospitalized and diagnosed by disinterested physicians.
Well?
Comrade Fleming has no brain tumor.
No? Then what's he dying of?
He is not dying.
But I'm sure he thinks he is, or thought he was.
Comrade Fleming did sincerely believe that. He believed it so surely that he reasoned he had nothing to lose by informing to the FBI.
We can't be sure of that.
The circumstances all point to that, and we can take no chances, Cvetic. Therefore, before he tells too much, Duane Fleming must be silenced.
Silenced?
Removed. He's your assignment, Comrade Cvetic. Attend to it. Now back to Dana Andrews, starring as Matt Cvetic in I Was a Communist for the FBI, and the second act of our story.
I sit staring at Revchenko. My mouth is dry. I've been asked to remove a human life, which has now become an annoyance to the party. And I show my feelings. I can't help it. No commitment I've made to the party or to the FBI is going to turn me into a tool of killers. Not even if it kills me. I know my reaction is making a very bad impression on Comrade Revchenko. Fake it, Cvetic. Pretend, Cvetic. Make a showing act.
You're pale, Comrade Cvetic.
Oh, yes, it's a shock.
If you have apprehensions about your role in removing this traitor from the area of danger, let me make myself clear. I do not expect crudities from you.
Crudities?
I will provide you with people to contact. They will execute our design.
I see.
You merely make the arrangements for Comrade Fleming's successful suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Merely telephone this number. Arrange a meeting. State the case and the requirements.
What about payment?
Payment is arranged for through entirely different channels.
Okay.
Now go. And keep the party out of it.
I sleepwalk out into the street, numb with fear and repugnance. I'm supposed to deliver Duane Fleming dead, or I'm on the spot. I try not to dissolve into panic. Hold on, think. How did I get conned into a thing like this to begin with? I telephone my FBI contact again. He picks me up in a dull, expressionless automobile. We drive out into the suburbs in silence. We park in a regular garden of a street whose peace and beauty only deepen the squalor of my involvements.
Now, Matt, to begin with, we're not going to let you drag commie chestnuts out of the fire, so cheer up.
You're not going to let me. Brother, you couldn't make me do it.
Go through the motions, Matt, and make it look good.
If I make it look too good, what happens to Fleming and his wife?
Matt, if you don't do this job for the party, they'll get somebody who will. And who'll do it sincerely and in ice-cold blood. If you at least seem to be doing it, there's a chance to save Fleming and his wife.
I suppose that makes sense, all right.
You know it does.
Nice prospect.
There's something I'd like you to do for us.
Yeah. All entries should be in by the close of business today.
Obviously, Duane Fleming believes sincerely in his imminent death from a brain tumor. Why?
His own father diagnosed it that way. That's why.
Will you check into that for us? It may be very important.
Which comes first, the goons or the doctor?
Call Revchenko's number and get going on that before Revchenko gets impatient.
And suspicious.
Then see Dr. Fleming.
Meanwhile?
We'll do what we can, Matt. You do your job, hmm?
I go to a phone booth. I fumble the coin several times before I can make myself deposit it in the coin slot. I dial, perspiring, shaking. I get a laconic voice on the phone. I take a deep breath, state the case briefly and guardedly. The laconic voice makes some notes, makes an appointment with me for that night when Fleming will probably be home. Pick me up, intersection of Nelson and DeGarmo, 8 tonight. Click. It's done. I'm an accessory to successful suicide. I've got time to see Dr. Fleming, Duane Fleming's dad. I dial his office, make an appointment for after office hours. Urgent and important.
Now then, we're quite alone, Mr.
It doesn't matter, Doctor.
If I'm to be your physician, sir.
You're not.
I'm afraid I don't quite...
You're Duane Fleming's father, aren't you? You diagnosed his case as a brain tumor, right?
I don't discuss my patients with anyone, let alone nameless strangers.
I happen to know your son isn't going to die.
Who are you?
Your son went to another brain specialist.
My son has complete confidence in me. He would never have doubted my diagnosis, except under influence.
Nevertheless, Doctor...
You're a communist.
I don't call you names, do I?
Nevertheless.
Why did you make that phony diagnosis on your own son?
It was not a phony diagnosis, as you crudely...
Go on, Doctor.
All right. I made that diagnosis because he is my own and my only son. Because my son was sick. Sick to his heart and soul. Sick in his mind from the same disease you have. And it almost worked. Almost worked.
You're a doctor. How could you do such a thing?
Do such a thing? Whoever you are, I know what you are. Turn around. Read the oath of Hippocrates framed on the wall there.
Well?
The oath we doctors live by and practice by. Read it.
I swear, I make this mine oath and this mine written engagement.
Further down.
Where?
From so far as power and discernment shall be mine. From there. Read it.
I will carry out the regimen for the sick and will keep them from harm and wrong.
The sick, sir. I will keep them from harm and from wrong. My son was sick. Yes, rotten sick. Sick to the soul of the sickness you have. I used my medicine according to my art and my conscience and my oath to keep my sick son from deadly harm. Now get out.
Dr. Fleming, you started to deny my accusation that you made a fake diagnosis. Why?
Out.
Who are you protecting, Doctor? Carol, your daughter-in-law?
Get out, I tell you.
Okay, that's the way you want it, Doctor.
Scum.
And now I know what I'll never report to Revchenko. I know that Dr. Fleming made a true diagnosis. a clean bill of health. It's Carol who has taken it upon herself to tell her husband he's dying. Because Carol, who loves Duane as surely as his own father loves him, also wants to save Duane from the deadly harm of communism. At 8 o'clock, 3 men in an inconspicuous car pick me up at Nelson and DeGarmo. I sit next to the driver. We exchange casual identification. The car purrs toward the university grounds. Slowly we cruise into Fleming Street. And all at once, our driver shoots the car ahead because there are police cars in front of Fleming's modest house, and an emergency squad is shoving through the crowd with an oxygen apparatus. Chinko.
You were always to call before coming down to headquarters, Cvetic. You know that.
How can I call if you always cut your telephone off when you work after hours?
Get on with it, Cvetic. How did it go?
It didn't go.
So?
Well, when we got there, the place was surrounded by police cars and a crowd. An emergency rescue squad was taking oxygen apparatus into the house.
Oh?
Is that all you have to say? Oh?
I arranged for earlier, swifter justice, let us say.
You sent another squad after Fleming?
A precaution.
A precaution? What about me? Don't you realize I might have walked into a trap? And I can tell you the hoods in my car weren't liking me much for almost getting them caught.
The incident is closed.
Is Fleming
accounted for? You saw the rescue squad.
Too late?
Quite.
Well, what happens to Mrs. Fleming?
Happens?
Oh, happened then.
You've done fairly well, comrade. But you need seasoning in some phases of our work. It will come. Good night, Cvetic.
Good night, Comrade Revchenko. I go out into the night. The dark feels dirty. I've failed. I've failed Carol and Duane Fleming, who could have been salvaged and turned to good. I try to close my mind to the vision of that rescue squad rushing into the Fleming house. Too late. I stop at a radio-TV store to listen to a local newscast, and sure enough, it comes. A young couple on assignment to the Electronic Brain Project on the local university campus was found dead today of asphyxiation in what was called by the police a suicide pact. The police medical examiner stated that... and so forth. I go to a telephone like an automaton, dial the FBI night number. We don't talk, just arrange to meet for a sandwich at an all-night drugstore. You ready to talk now?
Keep it low.
I thought you were on the ball. I thought you were following through to protect them.
We did our best, Matt.
They're dead. Suicide pact. It's on the radio.
It's in the Bulldog editions of the paper, too.
You did your best.
We were there when Revchenko's goon squad arrived. We picked them up and invented a whole setup about the Flemings being asphyxiated.
They're not?
They're in our custody.
Wait a minute, I'm confused.
You see, Matt, the only way we could really protect them was by letting the Reds think they'd succeeded in liquidating them. We're hiding him and Carol away in the Northwest under protective custody. He's told us everything. We want to be sure the Reds don't take him away from us again.
Yeah, they can have a new life up there. Good.
The old life of the Flemings gets buried tomorrow. Closed to the public. Guess why?
You don't habeas corpus.
Toss you who pays the check.
Toss nothing. This one's on me. It's going to be a lonely funeral tomorrow, with the only mourner being Dr. Fleming. One of the few funerals where even the remains didn't come to the ceremony. Dr. Fleming, he's proved his mettle. He can keep a secret, especially to save his son's life and mind and very soul. Sometimes, after jobs like this, I feel awfully smug about myself, awfully well pleased with the FBI. It doesn't matter that good people like Dr. Fleming think I'm scum. I mean, it doesn't hurt too much. I'm hardened to it now, almost. I'm a communist for the FBI. I walk alone. This is Dana Andrews, friends. We believe the way to fight communism is not only to expose its intrigues, but to sell democracy. In the story you've just heard, names, dates, and places have been disguised for obvious reasons, but many of the incidents are taken from the actual experiences of Matt Cvetic, who worked undercover for the FBI. Next week, another exciting story. Join us then, won't you?
71 years ago, August 12, 1953, I was a communist for the FBI, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Tomorrow, the Chase and Sanborn Hour with Edgar Bergen, Charlie McCarthy, Don Amici, Vera Vague, and guest Joan Blondell. And we'll also have an episode of the Jackie Gleason-Les Tremaine Show from 80 years ago with Edgar Bergen as well. So we'll double dose of Edgar Bergen. And we'll also hear from Willard Waterman as the great Gildersleeve from 1952. Gildy goes on a diet. And another episode of Superman as the story continues about Dr. Roebling and the voice machine, which was destroyed. Or was it? We'll hear about that tomorrow. And then a reminder, in 2 days on Wednesday, it'll be our annual look at the events of VJ Day, the date in which war in Japan came to a final conclusion, officially. We'll also have that along with episodes of Mystery in the Air and Have Gun Will Travel. Coming up next, though, Nick Carter, Master Detective.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the next 7 years of bigger and bigger enrollments, America's grade schools will need nearly 250,000 extra teachers, besides those to fill normal vacancies. This great need, plus the growing public interest in education and improvements in schools, make elementary school teaching a more rewarding career than ever, a career that high school and college students should certainly consider. Education holds America's future, perhaps your future.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, on this Monday, an episode of Nick Carter, Master Detective, starring Lon Clark. This goes back 79 years to August 12, 1945, the day before VJ Day, and the case, or actually 2 days before VJ Day, wasn't it? The case of the sick statue.
Keep tuned to this station for the latest news. The Linux Show, starring Nick Carter, Master Detective, presented by Acme, America's great producer of fine quality paints. This is the story of a man known the world over as one of the most daring and resourceful characters in the history of detective fiction. A man whose name has become a symbol of the triumph of right and justice over the sinister forces of crime and lawlessness. A man recognized as one of the great masters of deduction. Nick Carter, Master Detective. Today's exciting case, The Sick Statue. Another exciting chapter dramatized from the life story of Nick Carter. In just a moment, we'll hear how Nick Carter investigated a strange plague called bronze disease that murdered 2 people and almost killed a third. Who's the busiest homemaker you know? Like as not, it's you, yourself, and no wonder, for these are busy times. But fortunately, there are fine new shortcuts to the homemaking job. Shortcuts such as the 3 great Linux home brighteners, which save you so many hours of work. No wonder American homemakers everywhere have come to depend on the 3 great Linux home brighteners. Linux Clear Gloss, the modern brush-on finish. Linux Cream Polish for fine furniture. And Linux Self-Polishing Wax, the amazing new quick-drying wax product. Learn for yourself how simple a job home upkeep can be, how much lovelier your home will look with those 3 great Linex home brighteners. Get them at your hardware, paint, or department store, and see what modern magic they work for you. And now for today's exciting case from the life of Nick Carter. The regular morning work in the old brownstone mansion at the corner of 5th and 4th begins with Nick's voluminous correspondence. Scores of letters arrive every day, official, semi-official, friendly, threatening. And every once in a while, a strange note arrives, like the one Patsy is reading to Nick now.
Dear Mr. Nick Carter, you are a famous detective and would not know me as I am only a housemaid. Oh, this writing is terrible. But I have heard you will always help people if they are in trouble, so I am taking the liberty to ask you, would you help me? Mr. Carter, there is bad trouble in the house where I work, Mr. Horace Allen's house on Park Avenue. There is plague in the house, a bad sickness, and I think we will all die. The statues got sick first, and I know we will get it next. Please come and tell me what I should do. Enclosed, please find money order to pay for your trouble. Yours truly, Maisie Leeds.
For the love of Pete.
Oh, I really think this is touching, Nick. Look, here's the money order, $5 whole.
Generous fee, considering Miss Leeds probably earns only $20 a week. Wish you hadn't sent it. Let's see that letter, Betsy.
Here. Horace Allen. What? That's the famous ex-meatpacker, isn't it? 1270 Park. Very rich.
Yes. Letter mailed last night. Written in a great deal of hurry. Notice the ink blots?
Mm.
Miss Leeds seems to be rather frightened.
Well, what's all this about plague?
Now, here's the key line. Statues got sick first, and I know we will get it next.
Statues got sick? But what's that mean?
I think we better drive to 1270 Park and find out.
Right now? Oh, can't it wait a few minutes, Nick? We've got so much work to do here, and, well, Miss Maisie Leeds' trouble is probably a very vivid imagination.
You've forgotten I've been paid a retainer, Patsy. I'm now devoted to the interest of my client. Let's go see Maisie, even if we have to go in through the servants' entrance.
This is a pretty swank mansion for an ex-meatpacker, Nick.
Yes. Heard Mr. Allen's turned to art in his retirement. He collects.
Oh, I wish he'd go back to meat packing for the duration. You can't eat statues and packers.
Very funny. No one home.
Should be servants in the house.
There don't seem to be.
Oh, Nick, you're not going
Don't have to. The door's been left ajar. Come on.
Oh, Nick, this isn't right.
I've got a feeder in, Patsy. Come on in. Besides, it's rather unusual for a collector of art to leave the house door open when there's no one home. Oh, there's the library. Let's go in.
Oh, golly. Plenty of stuff here. Paintings, statues. Nick, look at those statues. The bronze ones.
Yes.
They're all greenish and crusted. Like they've got some kind of skin disease.
Those bronze spears, too. And this bronze chest. Wonder how it looks inside.
Maybe this... Nick.
Yes. Looks as if the plague has killed our client. Unless I'm very much mistaken, this body in the chest is that of Maisie Leeds.
I've been through most of the house, Nick. There isn't a soul around. What's happened anyway?
Don't know yet.
Learn anything from the body?
It's Maisie Leeds, all right. Dead about 10 hours. She must have been strangled and placed in this chest just after she mailed that letter to me.
Oh.
Patsy, there's an odd thing about this murder. It looks as if the killer had silver polish in his hands.
Silver polish?
Yes, there's a kind of white powder on Maisie's neck around the strangulation prints. Smells like silver polish.
And, Nicky, you'd better notify the police.
No.
Why not?
Listen, Patsy. Maisie Leeds paid me $5 to take on her case. I didn't get her soon enough to save her life, but I am going to get a killer. This is a point of honor. Something Sergeant Matheson wouldn't understand.
So what are you two doing
Nick.
in here? Don't move, either of you.
I'd suggest you put that gun away. You might hurt someone.
Answer my question. What are you doing in here? Who are you?
I'm Nick Carter. This is my secretary, Patsy Boone.
Nick Carter?
Yes?
Well, I'm Peter Craig, Horace Allen's nephew. I was up on the top floor, heard someone calling down here.
That was me.
So I came down. What's the matter, Mr. Carter?
Look in the bronze chest.
Good grief, Maisie.
All right, Craig, I want some quick answers from you. Why was the house empty when we arrived? Where's your uncle? Where are the servants?
Well, there aren't any servants. They all quit yesterday, except Maisie here. Uncle Horace rushed down to the employment agency this morning. That's why I'm alone in the house.
I see. But you didn't see Maisie Leeds this morning?
No, I generally stay in my rooms on the top floor. Uncle Horace just yelled up that he was going to the agency.
What agency?
The Sun Agency on Vanderbilt Street.
One more question, Craig. You know anything about bronze statues?
No.
Who sold these to your uncle?
St. John Arrowfield, English dealer at the plaza.
All right. You stay here. Try and locate your uncle on the phone and get him home. We're hustling over to see Arrowfield. I want to find out what 6 statues have got to do with murder.
Believe me, Mr. Carter, that man Allen is an idiot, a fool, an artistic criminal. I should never have sold rare pieces to an ex-meat packer.
Go on.
Antique bronzes are as delicate as tropical fruits. Unless they're cared for with delicacy and understanding, they sicken.
You mean statues can really become sick?
Yes, and die. Bronze disease is a corrosion that eats away the metal, rots it until it crumbles. No one knows how it starts. No one knows how to stop it. Once it attacks a collection, the infected pieces must be removed or the entire collection will die.
Golly.
And bronze disease has attacked Allen's collection?
You saw it, didn't you? The green crumbling crust on the surface of the bronze. And unless he removes the infected pieces, his collection is doomed.
But why did you call him an artistic criminal?
He has $500,000 worth of items there. All the money in the world can't replace one of those pieces once it's lost. Don't you understand? There's nothing more valuable than a work of art.
Oh, yes, there is, Mr. Arrowfield. A human life. Here we are, Patsy. The Sun Employment Agency.
Doesn't look very busy.
I'm sorry, nothing available.
We're looking for Mr. Horace Allen.
And not here.
He was here this morning?
Here and gone. Can't supply him with anything.
Why not?
Sleeping quarters are impossible. The nephew's a chemist or something.
Did you say the nephew's a chemist?
Yes, has a laboratory alongside the servants' quarters. Terrible smells all day and all night.
Well, chemist ought to know more about bronze disease than Craig seemed to. Patsy, let's have a talk with that young man right now. Here we are.
Nick, do you think Craig was lying?
Don't know, Patsy. Perfectly possible.
Oh, I hope Mr. Allen's back by this time.
With somebody to answer the door.
At least Craig ought to answer.
Probably back upstairs in his laboratory. Well,
Nick.
just my little pick lock, Patsy. Can't wait here all day. 1 second. There we are. Hello? Anybody home?
Funny. You told Craig to stay here.
Well, let's run up to the top floor. We'll find him there.
Walk?
Right. Haven't you noticed? Allen has a neat little private elevator installed.
Oh. Step in. Call your floor, please. First floor, dining rooms, smoking rooms, lounge rooms. Second floor, bedrooms, and more bedrooms. Third floor, hothouses, bedrooms, and more bedrooms. Fourth and top floor, servants' quarters, and... Nick, look. On the floor, it's Craig.
Yes. 4th and top floor, murder.
First, a murdered housemaid, then a murdered chemist. How will Nick explain them and solve the mystery of the 6 statues? We'll see in just a moment. One of the most important jobs in keeping your home spick and span is the care of your floors. And now you have an efficient new shortcut to that very job. Linex self-polishing wax, made from a new formula developed by leading chemists to give you the finest. For Linex self-polishing wax, designed to save work for you, At the same time, provides amazing new beauty, new protection, new skid resistance for all your floors and linoleum. Linex self-polishing wax imparts the satiny luster that only real wax can give. And because it contains the greatest possible amount of genuine carnauba wax, the finish lasts longer. What's more, the underwriters' laboratories have proved by actual test that any hardwood, linoleum, or rubber tile floor is less slippery after Linex self-polishing wax has been applied. Best of all, Linex self-polishing wax takes only a jiffy to wipe on and dries without tiresome rubbing to a handsome finish to make any homemaker proud. So follow the example of women all over America. Enjoy greater leisure, greater convenience, greater beauty in your home with Linex self-polishing wax, available at your hardware, paint, or department store. Ask your dealer now for all 3 great Linex home brighteners, the easy way to more attractive living. And now back to our story. Investigating a strange complaint about 6 statues, Nick and Patsy entered the empty home of Horace Allen to discover Allen's housemaid, Maisie Leeds, murdered. Nick finds that Allen's artworks are suffering from a rare disease known as bronze disease, and also that Allen's nephew, Peter Craig, is an amateur chemist with a laboratory on the top floor of the house. When Nick and Patsy return to the house to question Craig, they find him murdered, too. Now they're in the murdered man's laboratory examining his body.
Well, Nick?
Stabbed through the chest with a bronze spear, Patsy. Evidently one of the spears from Allen's collection.
Golly.
It's a powerful thrust. You can see the tip protruding from Craig's back. You can also see it's tainted with the same bronze disease that's hit some of the statues. Hello.
Well, what is it?
Craig didn't die at once.
What do you mean?
Look, here on the floor.
Oh, Craig must have tried to write something in blood as he was dying.
Yes.
It says N-H-L. N-H-L, what's that?
Couldn't tell you. Yet.
Nick, I've got it. Initials. He wrote the initials of the killer.
Maybe.
Couldn't be Allen or Arrowfield or the Sun Agency. Maybe it was one of the old servants.
Hey, what's going on in this house? Where is everybody? What goes here?
Nick, I think I hear...
You don't think, you do hear. Our old friend, Sergeant Matheson.
Hey, anybody home? Craig, Allen. Hey, Mr. Allen, Oh, glory be, I'm seeing things.
Oh, we're real, Sergeant.
Good afternoon, Matty.
Nick Carter and company, I might have known. What are you two? Hey, who's that on the floor?
Peter Craig, murdered.
Craig, too? He's the guy that called me. First the girl downstairs, now him upstairs. What is this, a massacre?
I'll give you the facts, Matty.
No. Explanations first, if you please, Mr. Carter.
Here we go.
Now, look, I warned you 1,000 times when you get mixed up in murder cases to notify homicide. There's a law in this city. Don't you ever do anything but break the law?
Yes, I solve murders. You ought to know.
Yeah, I know, but Nick, please. We've got laws to enforce. Make it as easy as you can for us to enforce them.
Matty, I'm going to help you enforce one law today. The law against first-degree murder. Come on down to Allen's laboratory. So that's exactly where we stand on the case, Matty. The murders are tied up some way with the bronze disease.
Yeah?
I have an idea how, but I'm not sure yet.
Well, look, what about the insurance angle? Maybe Allen's trying to ruin his own statues to collect the dough on them.
Oh, no, Matty. He could get more by selling them.
Well, maybe Craig ruined the statues and Allen killed him for revenge.
Maybe, but I doubt it.
Besides, that leaves out Maisie Lee.
Oh, forget her. She's just an accident in this case.
She's not an accident in this case, and she's not to be forgotten. Matty, you won't understand this, but in this case, I'm working for Maisie Leeds. I'm not working for you or the police.
What's that?
I'm working for justice. Justice for Maisie Leeds.
I think you're crazy.
See, Patsy, I told you.
Well. Pleased to see you all here. And a fine lot of people you seem to be. I'm Mr. Allen.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, indeed. Very easy man to work for. Just myself, my nephew in the house. Big house, few people. Not too difficult, eh? I suppose the agency explains.
Mr. Allen.
You're the housemaid, eh? Very pretty, my dear. Very attractive.
Mr. Allen, your housemaid is Miss Patsy Bowen, my assistant.
What?
I am Nick Carter.
Nick Carter?
I'm going to be blunt, Mr. Allen. No sense beating around the bush. Your maid, Maisie Leeds, was strangled to death. Your nephew, Peter Craig, was stabbed to death.
Oh.
I'll help him in the chair, Matty.
Yeah, right, Nick. Easy. Thank you. I'll be all right.
I didn't spare you because we're pressed for time, Mr. Allen. The killer may strike again. We've got to work fast. Now, where were you all day?
At the employment agencies, trying to hire servants.
A likely story.
It's true. I had to have them in the house today. I have a very important guest arriving on the 6:30 train from Washington.
Says you.
You can get the list of agencies of Mr. Allen and check the story later, Matty.
Okay.
Mr. Allen, I want to take one of your statues home with me. One of the diseased ones.
I'm sorry, I can't permit that, Mr. Carter. My guest coming tonight.
But you ought to remove the 6 statues anyway, Mr. Allen. Mr. Arrowfield said so. Why, they'll infect everything.
I know, but I can't. My guest is a famous collector and wants to buy some of my pieces. I've got to show him all of them.
I see. Well, in that case, we've got to work without your help. Come on, Patsy. You'll be in my lab if anything breaks, Matty.
Right.
Oh, by the way, Mr. Allen, what's the name of this famous collector who's visiting you tonight?
Norman Lane. Norman Hadley Lane.
Patsy, turn off the Bunsen burner, will you?
Of course. Nick, I just realized what Alan said.
What's that, Patsy?
The man coming up on the 6:30 train from Washington. Norman Hadley Lane. NHL.
Mm-hmm. Found at a couple of museums. Get a file on him.
But the letters, NHL, that's his initials.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Nick, you're not listening.
Just finishing this analysis, Patsy. Here. See this precipitate?
Yes.
That's the silver polish from Maisie Lee's throat.
Is it silver polish?
No. Something that came from Peter Craig's lab. Now hand me that package I brought from Alan's house.
Here.
Thanks. I'll wrap this.
Nick, you don't seem to care about the initials. I'll bet Lane's the killer. I bet he isn't even on the train. He's probably here already.
Here we are.
Nick, that's the spear that killed Craig.
Right.
But that's stealing police evidence. Oh, golly, Sergeant Matheson's going to be sore.
Alan would let me have a sample of his diseased bronze, so I had to steal it. Now let's cut a sliver of bronze off the tip of the spear, and we'll take a look at it under the microscope.
Now you're destroying evidence. Oh, Nick, I don't like it.
Not destroying. I'm just taking off a shaving. There. Now let's see.
Well? Well, what do you see, germs?
Yeah. Well, let you have a look. You see? This is a slice across the tip of the spear. Now, you see the outer portions?
Those crystals all around the edges?
Yes. They're malachite crystals. Shows the presence of the brown disease. Now, what do you see inside, toward the core of the section?
Just reddish metal.
Exactly. Amorphous bronze metal, just pure, uncrystallized bronze. And that, Miss Bowen, breaks the case wide open.
What do you mean, Nick?
I mean that... Oh, I'll get it. Hello?
Nick Carter?
Speaking. Who's this?
Here's a tip for you, Mr. Nick Carter. If you want to find who killed Peter Craig, watch the clerk from the Sun Employment Agency.
Quick, Patsy, get a line on this call. Trace it.
Right.
Afraid I don't follow you.
The clerk from the Sun Employment Agency. You'll find him at the Hotel Brighton. Now, he'll tell you who killed Craig.
Just let me get that down, will you? Hotel Brighton. Whereabouts is that?
I've talked long enough. You know what to do. Goodbye.
No, it's no use, Patsy. I couldn't hold him long enough. You got any kind of a trace?
No. Sorry.
Well, doesn't matter. Get Matty on the phone. Tell him we're picking him up and taking him for a ride.
To the Hotel Brighton?
Just tell him the killer will be at the other end of the ride.
All right, Nick, never mind the Mysterioso stuff. Where are we going?
Thought Patsy told you, Matty, to meet a murderer.
Where?
Didn't Patsy tell you that?
The Hotel Brighton.
Then we're going the wrong way. The Brighton's downtown in the village. You're driving uptown.
That's right.
But Nick, the man on the phone said that...
The man on the phone was wrong, Patsy. Here we are. This is where we're going.
Huh?
What time is it?
6:25.
Just in time. Come on.
Oh, this is Pennsylvania Station.
Right. And we're going to meet the Washington train.
You mean to tell me the killer is this Lane guy? Norman Hadley Lane?
That's who we're going to meet. You'll have to move quickly. We haven't much time.
Oh, but Nick,
We'll talk later, Patsy. I'm afraid to cut it rather fine. We've got to get to the lower level and be on the platform when the train pulls in. This way.
If this is a wild goose chase, Nick...
When I lead you wrong, you can say that, Matty. Not until then. Down this ramp.
Right.
Now, that's the Washington train. Quick.
Oh, we'll never get through the crowd.
We've got to. Here are pictures of Lane.
Yeah.
Take him. You can't miss him. He's a big man, quite stout. Heavy grayish beard. Looks like Edward VII. Look sharp now. We mustn't miss him.
Now, listen, Nick.
This is no time for arguments, Matty. We've got to locate Lane as soon as he gets off that train. Now, stand by.
Right.
I'll take the center. You watch right. Matty, you take a left.
Okay.
Right. Fat man, Edward VII, beard.
Golly, what a crowd. I think...
Oh, if we only knew which car he was.
Hold it. There he is. Car in front of us. Quick, Matty. Forward.
Right.
It's a Lane. It's a Norman Lane. Norman Hadley Lane. Get down. Get down.
Nick, what are you doing?
He's tackling the
Hey, Matty, you got him?
Yes, I got him, Nick.
All right, hold on to him. Right. Let's take him to the station master's office. You can call the wagon from there.
Well, this is quieter at least.
Hey, Nick. Why didn't you warn me it was going to be an assassination?
Didn't know when it was going to happen.
What about Mr. Lane?
Oh, I just put him in a cab. He's all right. He's pretty well shaken up when I knocked him out of the way of the bullets. That's a lot better than a shot through the heart. Huh, Mr. Arrowfield?
Why, you dirty gumshoe snooper, I'd like to...
Hold on to him, Matty. He's a dangerous little man and a very clever actor. Phony Englishman, phony dealer in art objects, including phony bronzes.
Phony bronzes.
Certainly, Patsy. That was the whole motivation. When Mr. Allen took up collecting objects of art, Arrowfield got hold of them and sold him a lot of supposedly antique bronze masterpieces. But in reality, they were completely phony, being merely modern copies of those masterpieces. And unless I'm wrong, Mr. Norman Lane owned many of the originals from which Allen's bronzes were copied.
Well, Nick, what about that bronze disease?
When Arrowfield learned that Lane was coming to see Allen's collection, he knew Lane would recognize many of Allen's bronzes as copies of items in his own collection.
Yeah?
So Arrowfield, in order to force Allen to remove those phony pieces from his collection, deliberately infected them with a bronze disease.
What do you know?
Allen refused to remove them in spite of the disease, so Arrowfield had to do the next best thing, kill Lane. Otherwise, he faced exposure as a dealer in fakes and phony pieces. The murder of Lane, fortunately, didn't succeed. The others did. And I'm going to see that you pay for them, Arrowfield. I want to be sure that Maisie Leeds, wherever she is now, gets her full $5 worth.
In just a moment, Nick will be back to give you the final details of today's story and tell you how he knew Arrowfield was the poisoner of the sick statue. The whole year round, it's a real job to keep your home bright and interesting. That's why the 3 great Linex home brighteners are so important to help in your homemaking schedule, because they save so much time and work. Take Linex Clear Gloss, for instance, the modern brush-on finish for all wood and linoleum surfaces. Linex Clear Gloss is ideal for any surface you want to save, protecting for months against wear, against dirt, against spotting, warding off damage by hot grease, boiling water, fruit acids, even alcohol. And Linex Clear Gloss lends such sparkling beauty that's easy to maintain, for the whisk of a damp cloth removes smudges from any Linex Clear Gloss surface. Linex Clear Gloss flows on easily, too, drying to a smooth, lasting finish which protects for months. So give your linoleum, floors, and woodwork the gleaming luster, the sturdy protection of Linex Clear Gloss, the finest in household finishes. You'll find all 3 great Linex home brighteners, Linex Clear Gloss, Linex Self-Polishing Wax, and Linex Cream Polish for fine furniture at hardware, paint, and department stores everywhere. And remember that your dealer is headquarters also for Chemtone, the miracle wall finish. Chemtone covers in 1 coat, dries in 1 hour, bringing bright new loveliness to your walls and ceilings in bedroom, living room, or hall. And now let's hear from Nick Carter himself.
Nick, I don't see why Arrowfield killed Maisie Leeds.
Because when Maisie returned from mailing her letter to me, she saw Arrowfield in the collection room deliberately infecting the false antique bronze statues with the bronze disease. She was killed to silence her.
But how could Arrowfield poison the statues?
Well, Patsy, as Allen's guide and mentor in the new business of collecting, Arrowfield had easy access to the house. He was able to steal in and infect those statues with chemicals he took from Craig's laboratory. To be precise, with ammonium chloride. That's the corrosive agent that causes bronze disease.
Oh, and was that the powder you found on Maisie's neck?
Right. Some of it was on Arrowfield's hands when he strangled her. Evidently, Craig remembered seeing Arrowfield in his lab taking the chemical, so Arrowfield killed him.
But those initials Craig wrote.
Oh, they weren't initials, Patsy. Craig tried to write the chemical symbol for ammonium chloride, NH4Cl.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote the N and the H and got as far as the first elbow stroke of 4 and then died. We thought he'd written NHL, which, purely by coincidence, happened to be Lane's initials.
Oh, I see. Well, Nick, you said Arrowfield's bronzes were fools. How could you tell that?
Now, Patsy, remember this afternoon in my lab? You looked through the microscope at a piece of that spear that killed Craig?
Yes.
Well, really ancient bronzes become heavily crystallized through the years. But the piece we examined was crystallized only around the outer surface, showing that it was cast quite recently.
So that's it. Well, was Arrowfield trying to sidetrack you with that phone call so he could get at Lane when he arrived in town?
Yes.
Oh, lucky you weren't fooled.
Only know it's a funny thing, Patsy. I've met thousands of crooks in my time, each one more clever than the next. And believe it or not, the only ones they fooled in the end were themselves.
Well, Nick, what story are you going to tell next week?
Remember the time we drove south to investigate the mystery of a legendary giant called Erdman the Earthshaker, whose footsteps apparently frightened a man to death?
Oh, yes. The clues to the case were green rice grains on the dead man's hand and a drop of blood on a bird feather.
Right.
What are you going to call the story?
The Case of the Bleeding Bobolink.
Nick Carter, Master Detective, is copyrighted by Street and Smith Publications, Incorporated. Lon Clark is starred as Nick. Charlotte Manson plays Patsy. Script is by Alfred Bester, and any resemblance in these programs to actual persons, living or dead, is purely coincidental. The entire production is under the direction of Jock McGregor. Nick Carter, Master Detective, is presented at this time and over these same stations each week by the three great Linex home brighteners: Linex self-polishing wax, Linex cream polish, and Linex clear gloss. Created by Acme, America's great producer of Acme fine quality paints. This is Ken Powell speaking for the thousands of Linex dealers all over America and saying so long until next week.
And from 79 years ago, August 12, 1945, Nick Carter, Master Detective, and the Case of the 6 Statues. Coming up next, something that is not sick, but very sweet. Claudia.
Whenever you drive the car, there is always an unseen, unwelcome passenger with you. That passenger is danger. The danger of a traffic accident. Unfortunately, every person seems to have the absurd notion that he bears a charmed life, that no traffic accident can happen to him. But it can, and too often it does. So when you're behind that wheel, don't take chances. Obey all traffic rules. Drive safely for life, your life, and the lives of us.
We wrap up this Monday edition of Classic Radio Theater with an episode of Claudia, as Claudia cleans out the closets. This from 76 years ago, August 12th, 1948.
Your Coca-Cola bottler presents Claudia, based on the famous play and novels by Rose Franken. Brought to you transcribed Monday through Friday by your friendly neighbor who bottles Coca-Cola. Relax, and while you're listening, refresh yourself. Have a Coke. And now, Claudia.
Oh, isn't it wonderful to go to bed early?
What's wonderful about it?
You know like?
I like.
Then it's wonderful. Oh, sleep, 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 sleep. I shall wake up as fresh as a daisy in the morning.
Any fresher than you are, it won't be so daisy.
Flatterer.
I mean every word I say.
Are you sleepy?
Wait a minute, I'll see. No?
No.
No.
Well, maybe I should do something I've been meaning to do for a long time.
What's that?
There was a committee lady called me up the other day and asked me if I had some old clothes to spare.
Oh?
Maybe since I'm not sleepy, I should...
At least it's cool.
What's that got to do with anything?
Everything. If you're not sleepy, there's no use going to bed on a hot night.
That makes sense. Or does it?
Hey, how early is it exactly?
Oh, it must be a little after 10. I just finished giving the baby his last bottle.
His last bottle.
Mm-hmm.
I feel liberated.
No 2 o'clock feeding. I think I'm going to miss it.
Like a broken leg.
Oh, I think there's something romantic about getting up in the middle of the night.
To feed the baby?
Even for that.
Oh. That must be purely a female reaction.
You will kindly not call me female in that tone.
What tone would you like me to call you female?
No tone.
Oh.
You know, there's something not nice about being called a female.
Really?
It's not like being called woman or girl or anything else.
Female. Very descriptive. Very succinct. When used advisedly. Very apt.
I don't like it.
I didn't think you would, my little female.
There are times when I could cheerfully pull every hair out of your head one by one.
Is this one of those times?
This is one of those times.
Well,
and cheerfully.
If you started now, we could get finished in time to go to bed, let's see, a week from Tuesday.
You're very smart, you male, you.
Now, that's where the sex is different. A man likes to be called a male. He likes it very much.
Oh, go to bed. I am tired of talking to you.
Whew. This is the night of miracles. My son no longer gets a 2 o'clock feeding, and my wife is tired of talking to you. Rapture, rapture, unforeseen.
I've got the patience of a saint, that's all I can say.
While you're in the closet, how about bringing me my pajamas?
Have to think it over.
I'll promise never to call you female if you do.
Oh, you better not call me female, whether I do or whether I do not.
Getting tough, aren't you?
Tough. Promise?
Oh, promise me. Oh, why is married life a series of bribes and promises?
All broken, one after the other.
Here comes the bribe, here comes the bribe.
Oh, Dave.
Oh, all right. I'll promise anything for my pajamas.
You must certainly love them more than me.
I do, indeed I do.
They're not here. Oh, yes, they are. They're on the hook under my bathrobe.
We didn't yonder in a yank tank. The bullfrog jumped from bank to bank. Claudia, aren't you ever coming out? Are you sulking or thinking?
I never sulk.
And you never think, so what are you doing?
David, you mind coming in the closet and taking down this big box for me, would you please?
What box?
That one on the shelf, the blue one.
The blue one. What for?
Do you have to know what for everything? Can't you just do as you're told?
Man is a thinking, rational animal. He must be given reason.
You mean man or male?
Cornered. I mean male, but we let it stand at man.
Take down that box. Oh, while you're reaching, take down the box next to it, would you please?
Make up your mind if you want any others.
No, I know why I married a tall man. I wonder what's in that white one next to it. Well, maybe you better bring it down while you're at it, too. Whoops!
Uh-huh. There they are. Now they're all down. Help yourself.
You really are so handy around a closet, David.
If you have any complaints, get yourself another husband.
First thing in the morning, I will.
Now, you've got all these boxes gaily strewn out over the closet floor. Just what are you going to do with them?
More questions? I am going to go through them and see what is in them.
Pandora.
I've decided, seeing as it's so early, and you're not sleepy, I'm not sleepy, to go through my closet and sort things out.
Uh-oh.
Just look at this stuff. A lot of it I never use, I never wear.
Mm-hmm.
It's a crime to keep it around when there are lots of people who love having them.
Certainly is.
Why, there are committees and committees collecting clothes every day.
It's a fine idea, darling, but do you have to do it now?
And what's the matter with now?
Nothing particular, but tradition has it that the night is made for sleep and the morning is made for cleaning out closets.
Poof to tradition. When the spirit moves and the occasion presents is more important. Now let's see what's in this box.
You're really going to give some of these things away?
I really am. Why do you look so surprised?
Oh, nothing. I just know how you hate to part with anything. Bits of string, empty medicine bottles.
That is where you are wrong. You couldn't be wrong.
Glad to hear it. So glad that I'll even lend you a hand and deliver the clothes to whatever committee you name the first thing in the morning.
That's my David. I'm going to give everything away. Everything.
All right.
Hey, look at this red scarf. Isn't it charming? It's such a beautiful red.
You'd look nice in that red.
Think so?
Mm-hmm.
Hardly ever wear it.
Well, in that case, then.
Still, if you say it's a nice color for me, maybe next winter I'll use it a little bit.
Darling, anything you don't use.
That's what I said?
Mm-hmm, that's what you said.
Oh. Well, and this red scarf. I'll start a nice pile of things to give away.
Come to think of it, I've never seen you in a scarf at all.
Oh, well, that's because I never wear them.
Ah, then that takes care of this whole box. It's nothing but scars.
David, not so fast.
Why not, since you never wear scars?
But that's not the way to do it. It's not any fun so fast.
Oh, it's no fun so slow.
You don't have to help me. I didn't ask you.
Now, what about this box?
Those are sweaters. I put them away for the summer.
Mm-hmm. And which one didn't you wear last winter?
David, I am running this, not you.
It takes a man to organize
This
things.
doesn't need organizing.
All right. Now, here. Which one of these didn't you wear last winter?
Let me see. Blue one, the brown one. Oh, and that nice soft gray one.
This gray one. All right. There they go with the red scarf.
David, I can't give the blue one away. Mama knitted it.
Well, Mama will understand.
What makes you so sure?
Oh, Mama always understands. That's what she's there for.
Oh, when'll I tell her that?
Now for your dresses.
Yes, my dresses. Now, let's see. The winter ones are in this moth-proof bag, and the others are hanging.
Hanging.
David, I am going to do this my own sweet way.
Of course you are. I'm only here to help.
We'll start on the winter clothes.
Very logical. Very. Now, I'll unzip the bag.
Good heavens.
What's the matter?
Have I that many dresses?
I think you've kept every dress you ever bought.
Oh, rubbish.
I never saw you in this brown one.
Oh, that's from before your time.
Oh.
That did used to look wonderful on me. It did all the right things.
Mm-hmm. And what are they?
Guess it doesn't fit me anymore.
No.
But you would be dazzling in it.
Brown is my color.
Try it on.
Mm-hmm. It wouldn't go over my broad shoulders.
Oh, well, it would fit your left arm.
Now, Claudia, get away from me.
Come on now. Let go. Just a minute. Hey, come on, bend your arm.
Now, watch out. You're breaking it, Claudia.
There. You are beautiful. You look just like me. Just like me.
Just?
Oh, darling, wouldn't you like to see a Mickey Mouse tonight? I'm seeing one now. Thank you. David, you don't sound like me at all.
Now, wait till I get my hat and I'll be right with you.
No hat, sorry. You can have a babushka.
A babushka? What's a babushka?
The scarf. Well, if it isn't our old friend, the red one, waiting for you.
Lovely, lovely. I shall have a turban.
Oh.
Bing da hong da hong da hong daddy heedle da dong da dong.
You are the worst Turk I've ever seen.
I'm not a Turk. I'm a Swami.
Oh, is that what you are? Why didn't you say so?
Way down upon the Swami.
Oh, Dave.
Now, what other robes have you for me hanging there in the closet?
Well, do you intend for me to clothe your entire harem?
I certainly do, and I'll have you know that I have 40 wives, 40, count them. That's too many.
Much too many. Oh, you poor man.
Now, where's that blue dress?
Oh, it's stunning, too. Here, wrap it around your waist.
Get away now, I'll do it. It gives me a figure like an hourglass.
Like a minute glass, Swami.
Ooh-ee, the mirror.
Right here on the front of the door.
I'm stunning. There's no question of it. I am stunning.
David, you'll break your neck standing on your clothes.
I mean
your toes.
I need a few jewels now. Swamis usually wear garlands of jewels.
I haven't got any How's a necklace of pearls?
One measly necklace, that's an insult.
It's the kind of insult I adore.
Ding da hong da heedle da dong da hong da ding ding dong dong dong.
You can just see yourself.
Come in.
Probably one of your other wives.
Claudia, am I interrupting something?
Not at all, Mother. Will you dance?
I must be in the wrong place. I was looking for my son-in-law, not the state insane asylum.
Mama, this is a harem. Don't you recognize him?
David Harem.
I've been in a harem for years.
Don't you think David looks stunning?
That is not exactly what I would call him.
Like I said, your mother has no aesthetic appreciation.
None at all, never did.
David, your turban is falling over one eye.
Oh, that's the way we're wearing them this season.
That's a new-looking turban.
Now, what can we do for you, Mrs. Brown?
I thought you two came upstairs to go to bed.
Oh, we did, but then I had to clean my closet.
For charity.
That explains everything.
Everything?
Well, good night.
Good night, Mother mine.
Is that all you came to say?
You were making a slight noise, remember? I thought perhaps David had gone out of his mind.
Mama, now, what would make you think that?
Oh, I'm bright that way. Well, have a nice Arabian night, you two.
Thank you, we will.
And we inmates down the hall would appreciate it if you kept your festivities down to a low roar.
Anything to oblige, ma'am. A roar. Low roar.
Children, and think your parents now.
You know, that's right. As parents, we should be more dignified.
Why didn't somebody tell me sooner? Off comes the turban. Off comes me ceremonial robes.
I am to bed.
With dignity.
Ah, yes, with dignity, my best face forward at all times.
You really going to bed?
I am already there, really.
Oh, wait for me.
Hurry up.
Well, I have to clean up the closet first.
Do it in the morning. It won't run away.
You so sleepy?
Oh, the evening celebration has exhausted me. I am sleepy.
Oh, all right then. Here I am.
And out goes the light. Good night, Harem.
Good night, Swami.
Hey, what are you sitting up for?
I was just thinking.
Oh, not again.
David, I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight.
What?
I am not. It's all your fault.
Now, what have I done now?
You did not let me finish what I set out to do.
And what was that?
Clean out my closet.
I'll do it in the morning.
But I can't sleep in the middle of doing the closet.
Well, sleep in bed.
Well, it's too disorderly for me to sleep any place.
You're neurotic.
Probably. I'd rather think I was neat.
Why do you always have to get neat in the middle of the night?
It's the only free time my conscience has.
Hey, come back here. Where are you going?
Clean up the closet, put everything away.
Put everything away. Hey, what? Aren't we ever going to sleep tonight? Bing, dana, hong, dana, hong, dana, hong.
When the youngsters come home from high school, they have a way of heading straight for the icebox. And if there's no Coke on ice, a wail goes up. I'll admit they do make inroads on a case when they bring a crowd of friends home with them, but a case of Coca-Cola still costs only $1. It's one of the few things that hasn't gone up. So why not let your teenagers enjoy themselves and treat their friends?
I still hear all sorts of war yells and commotion coming from David and Claudia's room, Mr. King. Do you have any idea of what's going on?
Certainly. They're going to bed.
It's a very noisy way of doing it.
Well, perhaps they're a little sidetracked.
You mean in the closet?
The old clothes hunt.
Cleaning a closet out is like cutting hair. It's impossible to stop once you've started.
You're so right, Mrs. Brown.
Poor David. He still has a great deal to learn about females.
Particularly the little female called Claudia.
That's a lifetime job. As a matter of fact, he'll learn something else new tomorrow.
About Claudia?
About the hay in her hair.
Haven't noticed it.
You will tomorrow. Till then, Mr. King.
So long, Mrs. Brown. Every day, Monday through Friday, Claudia comes to you transcribed with the best wishes of your friendly neighbor who bottles Coca-Cola. So listen again tomorrow at the same time. And now this is Joe King saying au revoir. And remember, whoever you are, whatever you do, wherever you may be, when you think of refreshment, think of Coca-Cola. For Coca-Cola makes any pause the pause that refreshes. And ice-cold Coca-Cola is everywhere. This broadcast of Claudia was supervised and directed by William Brown Maloney.
76 years ago, August 12, 1948, Claudia here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We'll hear from Claudia again on Friday. On tomorrow's show, the Chase and Sanborn Hour, Jackie Gleason and Les Tremaine, The Great Gildersleeve with Willard Waterman, and Superman, and then our salute to the day that was B.E. Day, the end of World War II, along with episodes of Mystery in the Air and Half Gun Will Travel. And then on Thursday, Rocky Jordan, also Suspense, Counter Spy, X-1, and another episode of Superman. And then we'll get on Saturday to Confession, Gangbusters, Quiet Please, Dimension X, and as promised, Claudia. That's all coming up straight ahead. That's Friday, actually. Alrighty, you have yourself a great day. We will talk to you again tomorrow with more Classic Radio Theater. I'm Wyatt Cox.